apologize.
So we can start over then. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we'll start over with the question. No, I think yeah, I mean, let me know, Corbin, if that workaround doesn't work, or if any other additional issues arise because of that.
And I was going to say, maybe could Corbin reach out to you directly to test that out on 1 or 2 panels to see how that works?
Yeah, definitely. I know for some other clients, and then I also think Shannon and I in the summer put together some fillable PDFs as well. So if you want to add me to Project Corbin, and I can take a couple panel schedules, make them fillable, and walk through that, we can do that and just test it out on a smaller scale.
Sure, absolutely.
After this session too, I'll just reply all to the calendar invite that I sent out, Chris, and it'll have my contact info, and then I'll share the recording as well.
Perfect. All right. So who's next? Any other questions out there?
I've got something.
All right.
So I'm a little newer. I've only been using Fieldwire for a little over a year.
Okay.
But I have noticed, so whenever we have to upload new prints or remove some prints or just move them around, sometimes they get lost or deleted by accident. I'm not sure if there's some kind of fail safe on there to where you have to make sure that, if you really want to delete something or not. Also
are you talking
for
about
CCS?
right?
Yeah, CCS. Sometimes like I've had prints that they've had to upload. Like I've had shell prints and TI prints, and then when they tried to upload them, they got jumbled up, and then I lost some information. So I don't know.
Like they didn't upload correctly, Eric, or you were moving them to a different folder.
Like they just kind of went wherever they wanted. So he uploaded some shell drawings,
okay.
and they scattered on top of my TI drawings, and then made my TI and put that on the TI drawings, put that red box that says old prints.
Yeah, where like the version control.
Yeah, old version. Yeah.
Okay. So just kind of like walking through best practices for uploading plans. If you have a specific folder that you want the plan to go to, Chris, if you could go back to the plans tab. If you want a plan to go into the specific folder, instead of hitting that new plan button in the upper left, go to that folder name, and there's actually that little down arrow, and hit new plan. Hopefully that resolves the issue of it accidentally, going to shell or TI. But also if you like find where a plan isn't in the right folder, you'd be able to select that and actually move it to that different folder. Or if you've just lost a plan in general, the search bar up at the top, you can just type in the plan name, and that should find that plan for you, and then you'd be able to move it from there. I don't know if that helped.
Well, if you like, so for instance, if you were to go to the e-sheets, and then you can go and click on new first floor lighting, E100, and then if you go down to the dates, so 6/23 were my TI prints, the ones that we needed. And then when they uploaded the shell drawings, it went over top of these. So that's where your 805 or date of 805 comes in.
Okay.
So you see how that did that? But then I had them try to fix it. And so the next date is my TI drawings back on top of that.
Hey, Eric, can you hear me?
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
This is AJ. So that's happened to me before. And what it is, when you upload new drawings, if you just go to upload new drawings, it'll overlap if it has the same name on the sheet on the bottom, like E100.
Oh, so we need to change the name. Okay.
Yep. So you got to change the name or create a new folder and then add the drawings on that new folder. Because if you just add new drawings, it gives you the option, but you still got to make sure that you're not duplicating or replacing old drawings. That makes
All right,
sense?
Dad. Yes.
And
Yes.
then-
And actually now I remember Bob doing that last year at Brooklyn.
Exactly. And as a general rule of thumb, we don't want you guys out in the field to have to be doing all this plan uploading and renaming and syncing. So, typically the APMs here in the office, if we get a new Delta set or a new revision, we get those in there for you. What you'll see is all these different folders. I mean, we should have minimal amount of folders, but if you look through the different jobs, when we just looked at, so like banner, we have way too many folders in here. And that's people doing what you just said. Oh, I'm going to create duplicates and rename, and I'm going to mark up this one versus that one. So really, the whole point of having the drawings laid on top of each other is you can search back and forth in those. I clicked on the wrong one. You can go to those different revision dates, right? So, so for instance, if we're here, just like you said, first floor lighting, you click the different revision dates, and now, like if you wanted to compare the different versions, like right here, like you just said, it'll overlay them for you, right? And so now you can see that they move a wall, whatever, and it'll still have your markups on there. So that's kind of the beauty of having the system be able to do this for you. But if you don't rename on E100, or if you're adding something that you got, we had that situation happen on Banner where they called it a bootleg set. So it's not stamped, it's not dated, it's not issued for construction. They said, oh, here, by the way, here's a new set of drawings that will be coming your way soon. Well, somebody on our team put them in the system, and so now they're in here as an official set, but they're not stamped. And so that's a problem. So really the workflow should be, we're issued a formal set of documents that changes what we're using. And the office team, right, the PM team needs to make sure that they get uploaded and overlaid appropriately. So we have the actual revision dates. And so that should be your request is, hey, we got this new set of drawings. Can you upload them for me? And we have a whole workflow for how those get imported, because when you import the drawings, it tries to scan, each one. So it'll scan down here what the sheet name is, what the the title is, but it's not perfect. And, we do have to edit them periodically to make sure that they are named correctly and have the correct sheet number and then the actual revision date, so that when you guys are looking in here, you just have the current set. And then you can always revert back and cross compare. So hopefully that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and just to add on to that too, if there ever is an issue, going forward where your E set is in the wrong folder accidentally, Chris, if you go up to version control in the upper right, that's going to bring up all of the sets associated with this plan. And actually, I misspoke. If you back out to all plans
Now
and do version control here, you should be able to see basically a log of the project and go in and edit from this page. So you don't have that, like you mentioned, that the August 5th sheet or whatever isn't supposed to be in that folder. You could if you wanted to go in and delete that upload and then re-upload it. I don't
Yeah,
know if that makes
that would-
sense.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and again, Eric, you know, for the field team, it's like, hey, if you catch something like that, do it in your weekly huddles or your weekly sprints, whatever. Bring it up and just say, hey, I have an issue with my drawings. Talk through it and make sure that it gets taken care of, because I know it's difficult to do that out in the field, especially modifying these drawings like that.
All right, we'll do.
Any other questions on that, Eric? Or did we answer your question?
No, actually, no. Yeah, you answered them.
Okay, great.
All right, who's next? We have 41 minutes left.
I'm here until 2, so if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask them.
Yeah, best practices.
Well, Corbin stole my question, but I guess my question is still the same as last time. Is there any way to measure a radius?
Is there any way to measure a radius? Not at this time. You can only do like straight line measurements and then area measurements. But I can take that feedback. Is that something that you're using in your day-to-day is pretty, or would like to use in your day-to-day if that were an option?
I don't think it's a day-to-day thing. But I am dealing with some landscape lighting right now that I'm trying to measure. Just do a little layout. It's got a lot of radiuses in it. So just thought that would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
What's that job number, or what's that job, Jamie? That's
It's the Phoenician, you're right there.
there you go. So if we want to look at that, so you're looking out here on the landscaping, and you have a radius out here, which
Yeah, H01, H101. It's got all them wavy walls and
Oh, I gotcha.
yeah, because there's no way to measure that right now, and with straight.
Yeah, we just have a straight line or area measurements.
is that something the total station can do? I don't know, that's a little off topic, but
No, but Flo might be able to do that in some of his software.
yeah.
All right, anything else, Jamie?
I guess while we're on the measurement tool, are there any other features that you guys would like to see with measurements, or any of the markups tools in general, anything that you've encountered where you're like, I wish that I could do this, or take a radial measurement, that type of thing?
Here's a similar feature. So it's not for measurements, but on the default colors, it'd be nice to set the default color for markups. Because right now it's defaulting to red.
Yeah.
We only use red for as-built. So every time they want to make a markup, they have to change the color.
Okay, so maybe, or like have the option to change the default color per user or by project, Chris?
By project, yeah.
Okay,
And it, as a subset of that, if the individual user could set it to their own,
okay.
it would be helpful, I think.
It also would be nice to delete all one color, rather than having to export it and then import it back again. You know, I mean, as it is, just trying to clean stuff up, we have to go through and right click and delete every little pink mark on the page, you know what I mean?
So that's a good question, Jamie. So if you have, let's just say you have an as-built here, right? And oops. Let's say you drew some marks on here for, whatever as-built, right? And then you came along and circled this and put a little note over there. And now you did whatever over here. So if you want to export just your as-built, then you just go over here to this guy. And then you turn off all the colors except for as-built. Why that popped back up?
Yeah, but so Chris, one of the issues with that has been, and I don't even know how this is still possible, but I'm actually still running into guys who don't know that red is only for as-built. So when we had to clean up the banner phase 1, we couldn't just use that tool right there to remove certain colors, because we had to go through, see who marked it up, see if it was actually a red line, or if it was just something that someone was trying to note for themselves later or whatever. So I mean, that might be more of an internal thing, like just send out a text blast to literally every person, do not use red, like either A, unless it's your foreman, or B, you got told to or something. But we have had, that was one thing that Ken and I and Elena and Jamie had to sit for like 2 hours going through every single markup on the printing and like remove. So
Yeah.
And verify
What-
in the field as well, you know, it just took a lot of time.
Yeah, I understand. And so in those cases, like, let's just say if I turn the filter off.
I was just wondering, what if we made the red only that that the admins could use and members can use the other colors?
Yeah, be able to lock out a color, because no matter how much you tell somebody not to use red, I mean, changing the default will definitely help, but people still use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a feature right now where we can like lock a markup by permission, but I can definitely log that feedback.
And you can change the color. So like if somebody accidentally marked this, or like, let's say this is not an as-built, I mean, you can just, you can change it and say, all right, I'm going to change it from red to dark blue, right? And so now it just changes it. But let's say this is an actual markup. Oop, up there. You can go back up here and change that to red. So I get it. It's a little bit more of a pain because you have to manually do that. But, I think it is a training thing, and you just have to have, meetings in the morning and then have some one-on-ones, because typically you'll be able to see, right, who did this. So I did this on this date. And so when you find out who's doing that to you, now you have an opportunity to go back and have some one-on-one coaching to say, hey, why do you keep using this color? Because maybe they didn't know. And so once you verify and you can validate, hey, I know that red is only for as-built, then eventually you got to say, I'm going to take away your permissions to access it, as a worst case scenario, right? But to just blanket say, you can't, you want to lock them out and have all these controls, it's like, got to have training. We have the parameters we have to work within, but still you have enough tools in here to be able to look at who did what and when and change them. And or you can say, hey, you go back and change your as-built to the right color. And what I would tell them too is, if you don't know, over here, again, you have your private color. That's a great default for if you have people that are marking up drawings, right? And let's say that they just want to highlight, this little bubble right here. They can do that, and they're the only ones that can see that. And there's no harm, no foul, right? Because they can go in here and mark this up all day long. So is everybody familiar with how that feature works on the private setting?
Yeah, so Chris, if if they're smart enough to figure that out, they're smart enough to figure out the red is only for as-belts. I feel like we just need to train the underlings a little bit more to do that. I mean, Corbin's right. At Banner, it was seemed like just something my 3-year-old granddaughter colored. It was bad. And some of it was true. Some of it was just them marking, oh, I got this one done. So I feel like everybody just needs to talk to their crew and just tell them, no.
Yep, and I just showed you how to go in there and see, but now, if you don't look at these, except for every 30 days when in a replanning meeting, then yeah, you won't really know. But if you're looking at them periodically throughout the week and you go, hey, this is a new markup, and you look at it and it's an as-built or it's marked incorrectly, you know who to go talk to. Anything else on markups or measuring? See a lot of red mute buttons out there.
Yeah, we got about 21 people in the Zoom call. So if you do have a question or you jumped on further on in the hour, feel free to reach out with a question. That's why I'm here.
Since nobody's asking, just to touch a little more on what Jamie brought up. Chris, if you could go to CCS. Sheet E100, I believe it is. So that would be another helpful tool for being able to delete all colors. Right now I'm using orange for lights that need to be troubleshot. But as we kill a circuit and troubleshoot all 4 of those orange marks, instead of having to go and individually delete them all, it would be helpful just to be able to delete orange.
So,
Not just hide it, delete it, so that when I go to the next room, I can start using orange again.
okay, so as a counter to that, I would suggest you look at this and turn everything off except for orange. And then
Right,
as you, now this is the only thing on your screen, and as you go through and do your troubleshooting, you can delete the individual ones.
right. Well, like this is a small one. That room up above it, I had probably 12.5 that I had to go through and individually delete once we resolved them. It was all one circuit, so we shut it off, resolved all of them at once, turned it back on. It would have been nice, instead of having to delete the 18, 19 markups plus their text, to just be able to say delete orange.
TJ,
then
do you have an iPad out in the field, or what are you using?
Yeah, I have an
Okay.
iPad.
So when you're deleting, are you pressing down on each markup and hitting delete from there?
Yeah,
Okay.
while I do the tab mark and then the trash can and go through and delete the ones I want.
Okay, because faster than just holding down on each individual markup would be on the iPad, just to hit that trash icon, and then you can just quickly go through and hit each markup.
So similar to how you use the measurement tool or the markup tool, and it stays on, you just hit the trash, and then you just click the individual. Right. So you can keep, as long as this is highlighted, you'll keep deleting. Right, that's what you're saying?
Yeah. It's just quicker than holding down on each individual one and hitting that delete.
Yeah, so,
I'm sorry, my phone froze out.
all right, so
Oh, sorry.
here,
I'll repeat that, TJ. So I'm just saying, instead of going in and holding down on the markup and saying delete,
Yeah,
if you specify on your iPad that trash icon and click that, then you
Yeah,
can just
that's what I do.
that is what you do. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the feedback for, being able to like have the option to, select all markup color. For right now, I would just continue, what you're doing. Prefacing with like your feedback. I could see that being a bit of an issue going forward if maybe you didn't want all of orange to be deleted, or if, someone else on the job site had an orange that you didn't know about that they didn't want deleted. So just something to think about there as well.
So that's actually another good question. Is there any, maybe this is a question for Chris, do we have like a standard, like how TJ is strictly using orange for troubleshooting specific circuits or lights or things like that? Do we have a standard for each color yet, or are we all just using any color for anything except for red as our red line, and then just turning the prints into a huge rainbow until the end of the job? Because I don't know if there would be certain scenarios in which it would be good to just, I like the idea of how TJ is only using orange for troubleshooting. I'm wondering if there's another kind of standard that we're using right now, like, I don't know, for other uses that maybe you could be letting other people know is more of like a company standard rather than just job to job, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so to answer your question, no, we don't have a standard. The only standard we're trying to hold to right now is use red for your as-bills, right? And then each foreman and each lead, and however that, they're coordinating, you might break up a quadrant into a color, a room into a color, a system into a color. So it could be one lines or, lighting or branch, that could be divvied up separately. So, I mean, it's something we could consider. So I guess, would there be a way to, Hannah-Laura, to actually name these? So if you hover over this, it would tell you, that orange is troubleshooting and green is one line and pink is, branch circuit.
Right. Not right now. I know how like some other clients are doing is they have like a best practices guide that they've set up with a screenshot that shows, red means as-built, blue means this. And they've distributed that out to their teams.
So it's something we could consider, but the opposite side of that coin is eventually you'll run out of colors, and then people will start using green for 3 different things instead of one thing, and you kind of box yourself in too. So
Yeah, I'm just thinking that if there was a standard per color and then maybe more color options, it'd be a lot more useful for the future where you can remove specific colors, because when you put somebody on a specific task and they have absolutely no need to see any markups on their print that has anything to do with the red line, or they're only troubleshooting, so they don't need to see all the measurements, or they don't need to see, what they can specifically remove the color and know this is the only stuff that I need to see the first time because this is my task. So I don't know. That was my thought process there, but.
well, I think again, that kind of goes back to the filter. If you turn the filters off and on, then, you can select which one. So if it's like, oh, I'm only doing troubleshooting, I'm going to turn that off and just do orange. And then for, that's all I have to work on, right? So that'd be one way. And you could pin your task right next to this and say troubleshoot light fixture.
Yeah, got it.
All right, a lot of good questions so far. Anybody else want to chime in? Certainly, we've got the juices flowing by now.
Yeah.
While we're here and on this plan, so there's those notes in red in the middle
Mhm.
that would be more helpful for me if they were on sheets LC1. Is there a way to overlay that or transfer them to that sheet without doing it manually?
That is a good question. I do not believe so. Are you wanting it to stay on this sheet as well, or?
No, I'd eventually remove it from this sheet.
Okay,
It's more about where devices are for my lighting control. The guy who put them, we found out last minute, was his last day there, so he hurried and left me notes, which was very helpful, but notes that would be more helpful if they were on the right sheet.
gotcha.
But you might be able, you might just add a hyperlink right over this and to the right sheet.
Yeah, you could add a hyperlink. Right now there's no way to, like, you're able to duplicate markups or move them, but you're just moving them within the sheet that they're already on.
What sheet did you say, TJ, you want to link this to?
LC1. I know how to create a link. I was just trying to find an easier way to do it, see if there was an option.
Yeah, right now there's not like a copy paste in between sheets or text or markups.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to almost cut and paste it.
Right. Yeah, and that's not, I'll confirm on web too, but I know that you can't do it on an iPad.
Not a problem. I just thought I'd ask if there's a way to maybe do like an overlay and then leave the markups. But if there's not, and always
Now,
just transfer it.
is it the same sheet just in a different folder, TJ, or is it a completely different sheet?
Looks like they don't line up.
Okay.
There you go.
Yep. Okay.
We're still off.
Yeah, I'll take the feedback for copying and pasting. Just a quicker way to move markups.
Yeah. Okay. What other questions are out there?
Yeah, any other feedback or questions on markups, plan viewing, version control, that type of thing? Do you guys have any questions on tasks or like reporting? Any issues that you guys are running into on your projects?
Is there a really simple way to identify if there's multiple tasks being created for the same issue? Maybe that's a communication thing as well, but an issue I've had is I'll create a task for somebody and then someone else will create a task and then there's a third task that's the same thing. Is that just is there an easy way to like filter through all the tasks and see, is that just like just tagging specifically maybe something, or
Yeah, so you can also search tasks similar to plans, Corbin. So if they have the same like issue name or similar issue name, it's gonna pop up here when you search. Also in kind of like the tasks view, you have the ability to filter tasks. So if you know like a task is within the, you know, SDS field status or observation status, you know, you can filter out by that, or you can even filter out by assignee. So if you know that, you know, you want to look at who's been assigned, you know, Jeffrey, for example, like what tasks he's been assigned on the job, you could see that. And then if there were duplicates of work, you could see it that way as well. But yeah, it definitely sounds like maybe there's a communication breakdown too in between foreman or whoever's assigning work on site in that instance.
Yeah, searching is definitely a key up here.
Yep.
You know, if it's a fixture issue, you might search here before you post it, and make sure you always look for this show more, because it'll open up things that are not, you know, at the top of the list. So yeah, that gets a little, it can be cumbersome, but I know exactly what you're talking about, Corbin, because you and I've seen it a bunch of times where there's 3 tasks, and then you have to go and link the tasks and then move a couple to verified and keep one open. And so the best thing to do is always search it first, and then you can always say, you know, use the tags, right? If you're adding hashtags to the task, that makes it easy to search. So if it's always like, you know, trade damage or something like that, you can do it a couple ways. You can actually add it over here as a category. You could put trade damage or change orders or something like that. And so every time you put it in that category, so when you know, if you have your task open and you change the category, you can add it even here, a new category. So if it's trade damage, you can always look for that. If it's fixture issues, I would suggest you add it into a hashtag. So you go down here and you could tag it as a hashtag trade damage. Right, and so you could add that, and then every time you have trade damage, you could put a hashtag on there. So there's a couple different ways to make it easy, you know, for the team to find things, because, you know, if we did, so like this is SDS, so you could easily go over here and type in SDS, and you'll see how many of these tasks are related to that, right? So full wire first floor lighting should have the hashtag, so you have a hashtag SDS down here, and this is not assigned a category, so we can add the categories over here as necessary. But that's a couple of different ways to do it, and then again, the filters. So depending on what you're looking for, if you wanted all SDSs, right, and you wanted to just look for that, you can actually print reports and export right out of this filter.
Yep.
Option here.
so then quick question on that specifically right there where it says no tag and then says 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 0, 7, 7, 0, 8. What are those even specifically supposed to be?
Let me see here.
Like, is there a list of 1 through 10 or something on that you could look at? Is that a task number, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure what those are on this particular job.
Because that's the exact same one that it looked like when on phase 2 banner prints, those same tags. Not sure if they had a corresponding, you know, reason or anything that would go with them, but
And that could have gotten pulled over from if, you know, that project got cloned from a template project too. there's a way if you're an admin on a project to update tags. So for instance, on this project, if you don't need the 1, 2, 3 tags, you can go into settings and manage tags and update them from there.
Yeah, and so I don't like, it's not even recognized. There are no tasks in here filtered as SDS. But you know, like we did out there, right? So you have hashtag extra, this could be, you know, extra work order, you know, phase 2, that's what this was, is phase 2 completion. We had TCO. There are some numbers in here, so I'm not sure how the 003 got added, but that's, somebody just went in and typed that in manually. Any other thoughts or questions on that?
Yeah, I've got one, well, that I was reminding or remembered when you brought up a checklist.
Okay.
So say we build a checklist for, say, a punch list and you have 6 items. Is there a way that you can comment or post a picture to like an individual checklist item without creating like a separate task for it?
I don't have any, so maybe Hannah Laura can.
There's not right now. Aside from just like putting it down in the messages section, like checklist item, you know, change flex, and then your note. Or you could create, which it sounds like you don't want to, but you could create a related task based off of that one checklist item.
Yeah, but then you end up like this one was for one specific room. You have 4 items and there's 80 rooms that have 3 to 4 items.
Right.
You end up with 240 tasks.
Yeah. And
It'd be helpful to maybe even like number the checklist so that you can take a picture and say item number 1.
yeah. So if
Gotcha. Okay.
you added a 1 here, and then a 2 here, and a 3 and a 4, and then down here when
Yeah, I guess that's a simple solution.
you could do, you know, 1 and then, you know, insert your photo and, you know, complete. But again, think about like in BIM 360 that some of our clients use, they would issue 1 task for the 1 item. And so you might have 500 items. Capstone comes to mind. And so you physically have to go look at this, and it will say change flex on top of 1, and that will be here, right? Change flex.
Yeah.
Then you know you might have a checklist that says change flex and add the KO seal on the box. So you might check and then put a complete photo there. So the checklists are really more of a flow. I always kind of look at them as like an MOP. It's, you know, here's all the steps that have to be done to consider this task closed. In this case, we're saying there's 4 separate tasks that we're trying to close in 1 open item. So it gets a little convoluted to think of it that way. But if you're looking at the checklist is more of a step-by-step, this is what I have to do. And so when we're trying, you know, I guess it's a little bit more cumbersome to add individual tasks for each punch list item, but that's a better way to track it. And then you can assign different people to do different things. And going through the workflow, if these are 4 separate tasks and somebody marks it as verified, you have to go check all 4 of those, where if they're 1 by 1, you're getting down into small batches, and you can say, all right, I'm going to go, somebody said I'm done with this flex. Now you can go look at it and you can mark it as verified for whoever you assigned it to. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
Is it? I got one more thing. Would it be possible? I don't know if the other companies are willing to give up the how you were saying that they use each color for a standard item when they're marking up prints, would it be possible to get like an example of that from somebody else just to see kind of how they have it structured? I think it would be.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll make sure with them, but they don't have their name associated with it. It's just literally a screenshot of the markups with a text box of what it is. So yeah, I can definitely share that.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Is it possible to get more colors?
That would also be great.
When we say more, like how many more? Because I'll add feedback for it, but 5,
I think
10,
maybe for me,
as many as you can.
I think it would depend on, what kind of like if we are going to do, as you're saying, Chris, and maybe job to job, the foreman sets the standard for what those colors meaning are. You wouldn't need as many extra colors depending on the different, depending on what they're for. But in some cases, I know that Jamie has even suggested we have one color for one person.
Right.
So instead of even having to go through and click on a detail and be like, all right, so if orange is for troubleshooting, how many different people were saying, let's go troubleshoot? You could just see one person specifically marking it up. Not whether or not we should do it that way, but when you've got 5 colors and 15 guys, it's nice to at least have the options available, even if only the admin could add additional colors to it, so that way it doesn't turn even to more than there needs to be there. But at least someone has the ability to do it if they wanted, maybe.
Gotcha. Yeah. What's the this is more curiosity out of anything, because I don't understand as much like your guys's processes or day to day, but what's the thought process behind having each person have a different color?
Well, it was more or less just at the time, it was going to be easier to see who was marking up prints,
Okay.
rather than, like I said, we had so many people marking up so many different things and having to go through and checking stuff. I know it's nice if we did have a standard for each color, it wouldn't really matter who marked it, as long as it was someone, it's one thing when your foreman is marking up a print versus when you have an apprentice marking up a print.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to know, all right, who's saying that we actually needed to go troubleshoot that? Was it a journeyman? Was it a lead? Was it a helper that he just turned the light switch on, didn't come on, so something's not working properly?
And I think we have to just consider, is that the best use of the markup tool is to
Sure.
You're accomplishing the same thing you would have in a task by saying troubleshoot fixture. So if I just open a task on this troubleshoot fixture and mark, I'm going to assign it to me, and I'm just going to go down to the tags, I'll just add troubleshoot, right?
Right. I still think I'm not saying that that's exactly what we should do it for. I'm just saying it's something we had talked about at one point, and just having more colors would have been helpful in that particular scenario. I still think it'd be better to just have one color as a standard for a certain task rather than a person. I'm just saying that was an example in the past that we would have liked additional colors when we were trying to go that route. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, it would be more like 5 or 6 colors to assign to a crew. Be able to lock out apprentices from being able to mark it up. And then maybe like 5 colors just for me, so that I can have red locked out that only I can mark it up. I can dedicate orange for like troubleshooting, yellow for hyperlinks to other pages, like blue for hyperlinks to tasks.
Gotcha.
That way, as a foreman, I have 5 colors that one red's locked out, but the other 4 mean something on that print. So if I send somebody to troubleshoot, they can go to just orange and troubleshoot. Or if they're looking for a link to another page, they can hide all colors, and then whatever links just come up.
Yeah, and
Or if they're looking for task links, that type of thing.
And
What,
actually, another good example right there that you have pulled up is different size conduit runs that need to be run between different things. On that particular print, it needed like 2.5 inch from one to another, and as you can see, I actually had it marked right there. There's your 2-inch conduit, there's your 1.5-inch conduit. Those are the runs you made from junction box to junction box that I made for my guys. So, I mean, just another scenario that having additional colors would have been nice.
yeah, gotcha. What permission level do you guys assign to your apprentices? A member permission or a follower permission?
typically they're followers or members.
Okay.
Most of our subcontractors are followers, but any of our apprentices should be, let's look here. Most of them should be members.
Okay.
And really the foreman and leads should be the only, but
Okay.
we don't have really enough selection because we only want the foreman really to be able to mark something as verified.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, and I guess going back to this, Corbin, this is a great use of the colors, I think, but troubleshooting a light fixture, to me, if I had this task over the top of a light fixture that was somebody had to do troubleshooting on, and then I opened the task and somebody marked it as complete, I'll know who did what, right? I can see right here. So if we get a call 30 days from now and somebody says, hey, this light doesn't work, we can always go back and find who did what when. But when you're using colors and you're just deleting them, they just go away. And so there's no way to see who actually did the troubleshooting. And if there was a comment down here that said complete, right? So we lose that. And then again, you can, you put your hashtag in there so you can look for all your, on all your tasks, you can literally just search for troubleshoot, right?
Yep, makes sense.
So, I mean, there's a lot of good information and a lot of good feedback from the suggestions, but the downside to using the colors for the wrong reason, you lose the the history of what transpired.
So,
Yeah,
but wouldn't you want the different size pipes and his little legend in for an as-built rather than just turning them all red and saying, yeah, there's pipes here? Or you wouldn't know what ones were where they went. I feel like that's a pretty good tool to stay in color for an as-built.
If you want this on your as-built set,
I don't have no audio.
and then you would have to put a little arrow there that says 2-inch conduit, an arrow here that says 3-inch conduit, 4-inch conduit, whatever.
Yeah, this is why I think it'd be helpful to maybe have someone else's standard of how they do things done. I feel like a lot of this stuff, if it could be broken down really simply onto one page on just a good, like, just best practices for markups and things like that, that's why I think it would be, I just think it would be helpful to at least see one to use as maybe a guide. For me personally, I think it'd be.
Okay. I mean, I think
yeah, I can share that.
consider it and see if there's a good best practice out there. All right, I know we're kind of pushing the envelope on time here. Anybody else have any more thoughts, questions, comments, best practices, anything you want to share?
No, thank you. This was helpful. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm good,
definitely.
thanks.
No problem. And like I said, I'll send out the recording too for anyone that just wants to review, but I'll I'll be in touch, Corbin, on those fillable PDFs too.
Very much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And you'll have my contact info after I send out the email. So if anything comes up, you have any questions, you know, while you're out working out in the field, don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, well, thank you for.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a great rest of your Thursday afternoon.
All right, talk to you later. Thank you.